My neighbor is low-key getting taken advantage of by a group of young drug dealers who are selling out of his house, but he's been driving through my yard, ruining my grass, and dumping trash on my property, so I don't care. I've been dealing with some bad neighbors for 3 years now. I thought I'd share my story both for entertainment value but also ask, what would you do differently in my situation? The context behind the neighbors: an old man lives there who had a wife that passed away before I moved in. Now some younger people from the projects, who aren't related to him, take advantage of him and live with him rent-free. How they met, I don't know. Despite the less than reputable characters that live with him, the old man is the biggest thorn in my side. I wish I could post pictures in this subreddit, but I'll just have to describe it. My house is situated further back from the road than theirs. I can see into their backyard from my front door. The old man likes to drive into his yard and pull up to his front door to unload groceries so he doesn't have to walk as far to take them in the house. I understand that part. The problem is, he pulls down my driveway, then across my yard to get to his front door. It kills my grass and leaves ruts in the yard. The next time I saw him outside, I asked him to stop driving in my yard and he said he would, but he kept doing it. A second time I asked him to stop, and again it didn't stop. After the third I was angry, so I went to his house and pounded on the door but nobody answered. I went home, wrote an angry note, and package taped it to his door threatening to call the police if it happened again. Surprise, it happened again. So after the fourth time it happened I went to the police, and the police told him to stop and he did. To this day he hasn't driven in my yard, thank goodness. But the story doesn't end here. After my trouble with him I put Ring cameras up on my property, and last month my cameras caught something baffling. He dumped a big box TV on my property. I have a huge yard and a lot of land, I even own some woods. He has a fenced-in yard and also owns some woods. He rode his lawn mower into my front yard, down my side yard and into my backyard all the way to my woods, and dumped a box TV back there. It wasn't even 3 feet into the woods. You know, rather than leave it by the curb for the garbage company to recycle for free, he had to get rid of it on my property. The audacity. So naturally I took a picture of the TV and pulled the recordings from my cameras and took it to the police. The police are charging him with littering and forcing him to remove the TV and dispose of it properly, as well as trespassing him from my property. He'll be hit with criminal mischief if he sets even a foot on my property again. There was one morning last year where I woke up to go to work in the morning, and there were like 10 local police cars and state cops all outside his house. Here the people from the projects that were living with him were dealing drugs out of his house and they were doing a bust on them. Everyone but the old man was arrested, and they just got let out of jail this month and are back in the house. I really just need to move. It's a shame because I live in such a nice neighborhood. It's the reason I even picked the house, the location. I've talked to my other neighbors about the bad neighbors and they said everything was fine before the old man's wife died. But now he almost seems like he has dementia and is being taken advantage of by some bad people. And now I have drug dealers and trespassers right next door. FML. Commenter 1. Call the police for suspicious activity at every opportunity. If the cops know they deal drugs they will keep coming out and it will make their business suffer. I would also call Adult Protective Services to do a wellness check on the old man. The problems may go away sooner than you think. Commenter 2. Maybe he has family that are unaware of his condition. If Adult Protective Services steps in, they may find someone to care for him and permanently evict the drug dealers. Update. About a week ago I posted talking about my issues with my neighbor driving through my yard in the past and how I had the police tell them to stop, and how more recently my neighbor dumped a large box TV on my property, caught on my cameras and reported to the police. Yesterday, my camera caught my neighbor leaving a handwritten note on my door that I read when I got home from work, and I also heard from the police regarding the TV. I'll start with the conversation I had with the police and leeway into the note he left on my door. The police had been trying to reach my neighbor by phone for the last week, and had made multiple visits to their house to tell him to remove the TV, but he wasn't answering his phone or the door. So the officers on duty have been making routine visits on our street to see if they could catch him outside, and they finally did. They told him he had to remove the TV and he was livid, naturally. He tried to claim that the property wasn't mine and was his. It's mine, not sure why he thinks otherwise considering a fence separates our properties, and that he could do what he wants. The officers said whether it was mine or his was irrelevant, as littering is littering and you can't dispose of electric waste by dropping it in the woods and pretending it isn't there. So they told him he had to dispose of it properly, and they told me if the TV isn't gone in 3 to 4 days to call them again and they're going to give him a citation for it. So that was yesterday that this conversation happened between them. Around lunchtime was when my Ring camera caught him leaving the note. The note said along the lines of I am giving you until June 1st to trim branches of a tree on your property that are dropping leaves and twigs into my property, or I'm filing a civil suit against you. I am tired of picking up the sticks and leaves dropped on my yard by your tree. So naturally the first thing I did was look up my state and local laws, and also went to the police station to notify the officers that this happened so they were aware of it and could make a report. The officers at the station told me not to worry about it, they know what he's like and he wouldn't actually go through with it, he's just mad that I got him in trouble and is taking it out on me with any excuse he can come up with, and the officers told me it's not my responsibility to take care of it. Our state and local laws state that it's not the responsibility of the owner to trim branches that protrude over property line, but that property owner that it is protruding on is allowed to cut back the branches back off of their property line. Whether you agree with that or not is up to you, but that's the law that I both read and that the police department informed me of. But here's the thing, the tree is healthy and it's not dropping large branches or anything of the sort, nor does it go over anything that would cause damage to his property. Even if it did, insurance takes care of that, it's not my responsibility. He's obviously butthurt about me getting him in trouble these last few months and is reaching at anything he possibly can to cause trouble for me like I have for him. Unfortunately, I'm an upstanding citizen and he has no grounds to get me in trouble with anything. Also, our police department and local government despises him and his residents so much that even if this somehow does go to court, his word is nothing compared to mine. So, I'm calling his bluff and ignoring him. I know him well enough at this point too, I'm not giving him the attention he wants. If he would have been kind about the situation and had a respectful conversation with me about the tree, I would have been a lot more considerate. But he didn't even talk to me about it. Now that he thinks he can threaten me, he can forget it. The amount he's inconvenienced me severely outweighs leaves falling from my tree into his yard. Maybe when he stops driving across my yard and dumping garbage on my property and trespassing, I'll think about whether or not to help him. I can't believe there's people on this planet so selfish. See my last post for the details on how these people are the scum of our community. Crack-dealing sociopaths in the one garbage house of our nice neighborhood. I'm really disappointed things have ended up this way because the whole reason I even got the house was because of the neighborhood, but I had to pick the one place next door to the crack dealers and trespassers. Again, FML. I'm going to start looking for a new place to live. I'm so thankful the police has been so helpful and understanding of the situation, but it seems no matter how many times I send them and no matter how willing they are to cause trouble for me, this needless drama won't end until they're out of that house or I just leave. I keep to myself. I'm a single, quiet guy who minds his own business in his own house. I just want to be left alone. It's time to start looking elsewhere, I think. Anyways, I hope my strife has been entertaining. I'll probably have another update regarding all of this. Would you have done anything differently? Let me know if you have any advice. Thanks. Commenter. Better make sure the tree has lots of high quality cameras pointing at it 24/7 because it's going to be killed. Update 2. This will be my final update regarding what's been going on, unless anything substantial happens in the future. I don't think anything else is going to come of this particular situation, but some things have happened between now and my last post. Here's what's happened. In my last posts I told the story of my recent strife with my neighbor, an old man who keeps trespassing on my property and drove through my yard on multiple occasions, only stopping after the police made him do so. He then trespassed again by dumping a large box TV in my woods in my backyard. After telling the police about the TV and after they confronted him and told him to remove it, he left a note on my door threatening legal action for a tree that's dropping leaves and twigs in his yard, and if I didn't take care of it by June 1st, he'd be suing me. For the finer details where I went more in depth about it, see my last post from about a week and a half ago from the link above. As for the update, it's now June 3rd and naturally I've done nothing about the tree. Countless conversations with other people, including the police, as well as my own research tell me I'm not responsible. I haven't heard from the neighbor, haven't heard from anybody on his behalf, haven't gotten any more notes on my door or in my mailbox or anything of the sort. It was just as we suspected, all bark no bite. He was mad about me getting him in trouble and tried to intimidate me and it didn't work. He's since removed the TV. Where he put it I'm not sure, I never saw it on the curb for the garbage or anything. For all I know he could have just threw it in his own woods, but I don't care enough to attempt to find out. It's off my property and none of my business anymore as a result. I also double-checked with the police to be sure that he was trespassed for good, and they assured me he was, and him removing the TV from my property was the last time he or anybody in that house was permitted from stepping foot on it, and he understood this. As many commenters suggested, I went down to our local human services building in our township and spoke to somebody in the Office of Aging. It's our version of Adult Protective Services. I spent an hour at their office and made a full report on the whole situation to them, the old man and his seemingly declined mental state and physical state, the types of people living with him. I gave them all the juicy details, from the footage of him struggling to climb 2 stairs onto my porch to leave the note showcasing his physical state, to another time where he chased a squirrel on his lawn mower into my yard showcasing his mental state. I even showed them the footage I had from the raid on his house where the people that were living with him were, temporarily, arrested for dealing crack out of his house. I gave them the names of the people living with him, given to me by my buddy in the police department who has been dealing with them for me. I left no detail out, no stone unturned. The woman I spoke with submitted the report to their investigation unit, but she said I wouldn't get an update regarding the situation. I'm only going to hear from anybody if they ask for more information from me. Only time will tell if this will do any good not only for myself, but for the old man too. To summarize, the TV is off my property, they're officially trespassed, their legal action threats were bluffs, and they haven't driven on my yard since. I feel better about everything and I'm hoping that this is the last I have to deal with for the foreseeable future, but only time will tell. Of course, should anything else happen I'll be quick to tell it here, but for now this will be the last time I post regarding this situation. I also wanted to thank everybody for the suggestions made on my previous posts. I wouldn't have thought to make a report with the Office of Aging if it wasn't for commenters. Here's hoping he gets the help he needs and I get the peace and quiet I've been longing for.